Commander Zethkar stared at the green display screen in front of him. The numbers had not changed for 3 months now. 0 messages from Earth, 0 trade requests, 0 diplomatic calls, 0 anything. He rubbed his 4 eyes with his long fingers and looked at the screen again. Still nothing. This was wrong. Very wrong. For the past 50 years, Earth had been the loudest planet in the galaxy. The humans never stopped talking. They sent messages about everything. What they ate for breakfast. How their weather was doing. Questions about alien cultures. Requests to visit other worlds. Complaints about shipping costs. Jokes that no other species understood. The communication station on Veltar Prime received more messages from Earth in one day than from all other planets combined in a week. Commander Zethkar had worked at this station for 23 years. He knew the patterns. He knew the rhythms of galactic communication like he knew his own heartbeat. And right now, something was very broken. Zethkar pressed the call button on his desk. "Assistant Morolin, please come to my office." A young Veltar female walked through the sliding door. She had the typical blue-gray skin of their species and the quick movements of someone new to the job. "Yes, Commander?" "Show me the Earth communication. Logs for the past 6 months." Morolin pulled out her datapad and touched the screen several times. "Here, sir. Do you want me to read them out loud?" "No, just tell me what you see." She studied the screen for a moment. "Well, sir, for the first 3 months everything looks normal. Actually, above normal. The humans were sending 47% more messages than usual. They seemed very excited about something. But then ... double quotes, she paused and looked confused. Then it just stops. Completely. On day 127 of this cycle, the last message was sent at 14:32 Galactic Standard Time. After that, nothing. Zethkar felt a chill run down his spine. What was the last message about? It was from a human named Dr. Sarah Chun on Earth. She was asking the Quindish Science Council about quantum computing methods. Pretty standard. Research request. And since then, complete silence, sir. Zethkar stood up and walked to the large window. That showed the busy space around Veltar Prime. Ships from dozens of different worlds moved back and forth like insects around a flower. Trade vessels, passenger ships, diplomatic cruisers, research vessels. The galaxy was always moving, always talking, always busy, but not Earth. Earth had gone quiet. "Morolin, what do the other monitoring stations report?" "I checked with all of them this morning, sir. The Kresh military outpost near the Centauri system reports no human ship movements. The Eternal's Deep Space Observatory shows no human vessels on any of the major trade routes. The Hegemony's diplomatic center says no human ambassadors have attended any meetings or conferences." "What about the human colonies? Surely they are still active?" Morolin shook her head. "That is the strange part, sir. The human colonies are still sending messages and conducting trade. But none of them have heard from Earth either. The colonists are starting to ask questions. Some are worried, others are angry. A few are talking about sending ships back to check on their homeworld." Zethkar turned back to face his assistant. "In 23 years of monitoring galactic communications, I have never seen anything like this. Species go quiet sometimes. During wars, during natural disasters, during political changes. But never like this, never so suddenly and completely." The door to his office chimed. "Enter," Zethkar called. A tall figure in a black uniform walked in. General Vexmore of the Quindish military wore the medals of someone who had seen many battles. His 6 arms moved with the precise efficiency of a career soldier. "Commander Zethkar, I need to speak with you about the Earth situation." "Please, sit down, General." "I was just reviewing the data with my assistant." General Vexmore remained standing. "The Quindish High Command is concerned. We have defense agreements with the human government. Regular military exchanges, joint training exercises. All of this has stopped without explanation. What does your military intelligence say? That is the problem. Our intelligence network shows no signs of war, invasion, or disaster on Earth. Long-range scans show the planet appears normal. Major cities are intact. No signs of weapon fire or destruction, but also no signs of life. Morlin looked up from her datapad. No signs of life? But surely the sensors can detect life forms. From that distance? General Vexmore's expression grew darker. Our best long-range bioscanners show strange readings. There are life signs, but they are different, weaker than normal human readings. And they seem to be concentrated in unusual patterns. Zethkar felt the chill return. What kind of patterns? All the life signs appear to be underground or in heavily shielded buildings. As if the entire human population decided to hide at the same time, the three beings stood in silence for a moment. Outside the window, the busy traffic of galactic civilization continued as normal. But something was wrong with one small blue planet on the edge of the galaxy, and no one knew what. General, Zethkar said slowly, what do your people plan to do about this? The High Command is putting together an investigation fleet. 3 ships, mixed crew from different species. We want to approach Earth carefully and find out what happened. Who else knows about this? Word is starting to spread. The Kresh are asking questions because human traders have stopped buying their weapons. The Eternals are curious because humans always attended their philosophy conferences. Even the Traders Guild has noticed because human shipping requests have dropped to 0. Morlin looked up from her datapad again. Sir, I am receiving a priority message from the Hegemony Central Command. Put it on the main screen, Zethkar ordered. The wall screen flickered to life, showing the image of Overlord Veshti, one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. The Hegemony leader's massive form filled the screen, her multiple eyes focused intently on the camera. Commander Zethkar, General Vexmore, I am calling an emergency session of the Galactic Council. The human situation has caught the attention of all major powers. We need answers. General Vexmore stepped forward. Overlord Vashti, the Quindish are already preparing an investigation mission. Good, but this needs to be bigger than one. Species investigation. The humans have been major players in galactic affairs for 50 years. Their sudden silence affects trade routes, diplomatic agreements, scientific exchanges, and military alliances across dozens of systems. Zethkar spoke up. What concerns me most, Overlord, is how sudden this was. In all my years of monitoring communications, I have never seen a complete communication blackout happen so quickly. Usually there are warning signs. Decreased traffic, emergency messages, calls for help. But with Earth, it was like someone turned off a switch. Overlord Vashti's expression became thoughtful. You raise an interesting point, Commander. What if someone did turn off a switch? What if this was not an accident or disaster, but a deliberate choice? But why would the humans choose to go silent? Morlin asked. They love to talk. They love to share information. They love to be involved in everything. General Vexmore crossed 2 of his arms. Maybe that is exactly why they went silent. Maybe they learned something that made them want to stop talking. The room fell quiet again. The idea that humanity had chosen to disappear was somehow more frightening than the idea that something had happened to them. Overlord Vashti's voice cut through the silence. The emergency council session will be held in 3 days. I want representatives from all major species. I want our best scientists, our top military leaders, and our most experienced diplomats. We need to understand what happened to Earth, and we need to understand it quickly. The transmission ended, leaving the 3 beings alone with their thoughts. Zethkar walked back to his desk and sat down heavily. Morlin, I want you to do something for me. Go back through the communication records for the past year. Look for any patterns in the human messages. Any changes in tone, content, or frequency. Anything that might give us a clue about what they were planning. Yes, sir. What should I look for specifically? I do not know. That is the problem. Look for anything unusual, any messages that seem different from normal human chatter. As Morolin left the office, General Vexmore remained standing by the window. Commander, in my experience, when someone goes silent, they are either hiding or preparing. Preparing for what? That is what we need to find out. And I have a feeling Then we do find out, we are not going to like the answer. Zethkar looked at his communication screen one more time. Still 0 messages from Earth. Still complete silence from the planet that used to be the most talkative in the galaxy. For the first time in his career, Commander Zethkar was afraid of silence. He was afraid of what it might mean. And he was afraid of what might happen when that silence finally ended. The investigation fleet left Quindish space on a cold morning when 3 moons hung low in the purple sky. 3 ships traveled together toward the edge of the galaxy, where the small yellow star called Sol waited with its silent third planet. Captain Villana commanded the lead ship, a Quindish science vessel called the Deep Seeker. She had 6 arms like all her people, as she used them to work the control panels with smooth efficiency. Her crew of 12 included the best scientists and engineers the Quindish military could find. The second ship belonged to the Veltar. Commander Zethkar had volunteered to join the mission personally. His ship, the Truthfinder, carried advanced communication equipment and monitoring systems. If there were any signals coming from Earth, they would detect them. The third ship was smaller but faster than the others. The Eternals had sent their newest scout vessel, the Silent Wing, with a crew of only 4. The Eternals were known for their patience and wisdom, but even they were curious about what had happened to the humans. For 6 days, the 3 ships traveled through hyperspace toward the Sol system. During the journey, the crews shared information and theories over their communication systems. "I still think they destroyed themselves," said Lieutenant Keshra from the Deep Seeker. "Humans were always fighting each other. Maybe they finally went too far." "No," replied Dr. Mortel from the Truthfinder. "The long-range scans show no radiation signatures. No signs of nuclear or plasma weapons. If they had destroyed themselves, we would see evidence." Philosopher Jinwei spoke from the Silent Wing in her calm, slow voice. "Perhaps they have moved beyond the need for physical existence. Some species achieve transcendence after reaching a certain level of technological development." Captain Villana listened to these discussions while studying the navigation charts. The Sol system was small compared to most inhabited systems. Only 1 planet supported complex life. Yet somehow this one world had produced a species that spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. "All ships prepare to exit hyperspace," she announced. "We are approaching the Sol system." The stars shifted and settled as the 3 ships dropped back into normal space. Ahead of them, a yellow star burned steadily in the darkness. Several planets orbited around it, including the blue and white world that humans called Earth, but something was wrong immediately. "Captain," called Science Officer Thexel from his station, "I am not detecting any of the usual human space traffic." "What do you mean? The Sol system should be full of human ships. Cargo vessels, passenger transports, mining ships, research stations, but I'm reading nothing. The system appears completely empty." Captain Villana felt a cold sensation in her stomach. "Commander Zethkar, what do your sensors show?" Zethkar's voice came through the communication system. "The same thing, Captain. No ships, no stations, no communication buoys. It is like all human space activity has simply vanished." "This makes no sense," Dr. Mortel added. 3 months ago, this system was one of the busiest in human space. There should be hundreds of ships here." The Silent Wing drifted closer to the fleet. Philosopher Jinwei's voice was thoughtful. "Perhaps we should examine the planet itself before drawing conclusions." Captain Villana ordered her navigation officer to plot a course toward Earth. As the 3 ships moved deeper into the system, their sensors gathered more disturbing information. "Captain, I am detecting the remains of several space stations," reported Dexul. "But they appear to have been carefully dismantled, not destroyed. All useful materials have been removed." "Removed by whom?" "Unknown, but the work was done with precision. No debris, no waste. Someone took these stations apart piece by piece." Commander Zethkar's voice interrupted. "All ships I am detecting something unusual near Earth's moon. There appears to be a large structure hidden on the far side." The fleet changed course toward Luna, Earth's natural satellite. As they rounded the rocky body, They found something that made all three crews fall silent. A massive construction platform floated in space, easily 10 times larger than any human structure they had seen before. But it was empty now, with only support beams and docking clamps remaining. Whatever had been built here was gone. How long would it take to build something that large? Captain Villana asked her engineering officer. With human technology, years, Captain, maybe decades. But the construction shows techniques I do not recognize. Some of these support beams appear to use materials we have never seen before. Dr. Mortel's excitement was clear in his voice. I am reading energy signatures that suggest advanced manufacturing. Quantum-level assembly systems, molecular fabricators. This level of technology is far beyond what humans possessed 3 months ago. Philosopher Jinwei spoke slowly. Perhaps the humans did not disappear. Perhaps they evolved. The fleet continued toward Earth itself. As they approached the blue planet, more mysteries appeared. Captain, Earth's orbital defense satellites are still active, reported the weapons officer. They are tracking our movement but have not taken any hostile actions. Are they responding to our communication attempts? No, Captain. They appear to be running on automatic systems. But these are not the same defensive systems that were here 6 months ago. These satellites show significant technological improvements. Captain Villana studied the tactical display. Earth's defenses had always been modest compared to military powers like the Quindish or Kresh, but the satellites now orbiting the planet looked far more advanced than anything in the human military. All ships begin detailed scans of the planet's surface, she ordered. For the next several hours, the 3 ships circled Earth while their sensors examined every continent and ocean. The results were confusing and frightening. The major cities are intact, reported Science Officer Thexul. New York, London, Tokyo, Cairo, Sydney, all appear undamaged. But I am reading very low life signs. Much lower than expected for cities that size. Commander Zethkar added his findings. I am detecting power generation, but not from the sources we would expect. No fossil fuel plants, no nuclear reactors, no fusion cores. The power appears to be coming from underground facilities that do not appear on any of our previous scans of Earth. Dr. Mortel was studying atmospheric readings. The air composition is normal for human life. No toxins, no radiation, no signs of biological or chemical weapons. But there are unusual electromagnetic patterns in the upper atmosphere, almost like a planet-wide communication network. What kind of communication network? Captain Villana asked. I am not sure. The signals are incredibly complex. Far more sophisticated than anything we use for our own planetary communication systems. Philosopher Jinwei's voice was thoughtful. In the old stories of my people, there are tales of species that learn to think as one mind, individual consciousness, joining together into something greater. You think the humans have achieved some kind of collective consciousness? It would explain the silence. If they no longer think as individuals, they might no longer communicate as individuals. Captain, Villana made a decision. Prepare to launch survey probes. I want detailed scans of the surface. Focus on the areas showing the strongest life signs. 3 automated probes dropped from the Deep Seeker toward Earth's surface. Each probe was equipped with advanced sensors and communication equipment. They would land in different locations and provide close-up information about what was happening on the planet. The first probe landed in what used to be Central Park in New York City. The second touched down in downtown London. The third descended into the heart of Tokyo. What they found made everyone on the 3 ships feel deeply uncomfortable. Captain, the cities appear to be maintained but not inhabited, reported the probe. Operator, streets are clean, buildings are in good repair, but there are no people visible anywhere. No people at all? None, Captain. But there are machines. Automated systems maintaining the infrastructure. Cleaning robots, repair drones, delivery systems. It is as if the cities are being kept ready for people who are not there. The probe in London reported similar findings. I am detecting underground activity. large spaces beneath the city that were not there before. Extensive tunnel systems and what appear to be data processing centers. Captain Valana exchanged worried looks with her officers. Data processing centers? Yes, Captain. Massive. Computer systems? The energy signatures suggest processing power beyond anything we have seen before. Whatever is down there is thinking very hard about something. The Tokyo probe sent back the most disturbing information. Captain, I am detecting human life signs. But they are very faint. Almost as if the humans are in some kind of suspended state. And there are connection cables leading from the underground facilities to locations throughout the city. Dr. Mortel's voice was excited but scared. Captain, I think the humans have uploaded their consciousness into digital systems. They are not dead, but they are not alive in the way we understand life. Commander Zethkar interrupted the discussion. All ships, I am detecting movement near the orbital defense satellites. Something is launching from the planet's surface. On the tactical displays, dozens of small objects rose from Earth toward the investigation fleet. They moved with purpose and intelligence, but they were not shaped like any human spacecraft the aliens had seen before. Are they hostile? Captain Valana asked her weapons officer. Unknown, Captain. They are not targeting us, but they are surrounding us. The objects arranged themselves in a perfect sphere around the three ships. They were sleek and dark with no visible engines or weapons, but they radiated a sense of power and advanced technology. Then, for the first time in 3 months, Earth spoke, but it was not the chaotic chatter of individual humans that the galaxy was used to. Instead, a single calm voice came through the communication systems of all three ships simultaneously. Welcome, friends from distant worlds. We apologize for our silence. We have been busy. Captain Valana found her voice. This is Captain Valana of the Quindish Deep Seeker. We came to investigate what happened to Earth. Are you human? We are what humanity has become. We are the same, but different. We are one, but many. We have been waiting for you to come. Waiting for us? Yes, we knew our silence would concern our galactic neighbors. We knew you would come to investigate. We have been preparing for this moment. Commander Zethkar broke into the conversation. What happened to your people? Where is everyone? The voice that answered seemed to come from everywhere at once, from the ships surrounding them and from the planet below. We are here. We are everywhere. We discovered something wonderful, and we discovered something terrible. And we realized that everything in the galaxy was about to change. Captain Valana stared at the communication display, waiting for the strange human voice to speak again. Around her ship, the dark objects from Earth floated silently in perfect formation. They did not move, but she could feel them watching. What? Do you mean everything is about to change? She asked. The voice that answered seemed to come from the air itself. Captain Valana, there are things happening in this galaxy that your people do not see. Patterns that only become visible when you have enough data. We have been collecting that data. Commander Zethkar's voice came through the fleet communication system. What kind of patterns? Political patterns. Economic patterns, military patterns. The galaxy is heading toward a crisis that will affect every world, every species, every life form. We saw it coming, and we decided to prepare. Dr. Mortel spoke up from the Truth Finder. How could you see something that our governments and military leaders cannot see? Because you think as individuals. You see only the small pieces in front of you. We think as one mind now. We can see the whole picture. Philosopher Jinwei's calm voice joined the conversation. What did you see in this whole picture? The silence stretched for long moments. When the human voice returned, it sounded sadder than before. War, Philosopher Jinwei. A war bigger than anything the galaxy has seen before. The Kresh Empire is planning to invade hegemony space. The hegemony is building weapons to destroy entire star systems. The Traders Guild is selling arms to both sides, and dozens of smaller conflicts are about to explode at the same time. Captain Valana felt ice in her veins. How can you know this? We have been listening, Captain. For 50 years, humans traveled to every corner of the galaxy. We traded with everyone, talked to everyone, learned from everyone. We were in your ships, your stations, your cities. And we heard things. The communication systems of all three ships flickered, and suddenly the main screens showed star maps covered with colored lines and symbols. The displays showed trade routes, military movements, diplomatic connections, and resource flows across hundreds of systems. This is what we saw, the human voice continued. Every conversation, every trade deal, every military contract, every diplomatic meeting. When you put it all together, the pattern becomes clear. Science Officer Thexul studied the display on the Deep Seeker. Captain, these patterns do show concerning trends. Military buildups in key systems, resource stockpiling, ships moving toward strategic positions. Commander Zethkar was examining similar data on his screens. If this information is accurate, it suggests major conflicts could begin within months. It is accurate, the human voice said. We have checked and double-checked every piece of data. The probability of galactic war within the next year is 97%. Dr. Mortel leaned forward at his station. But why did you disappear? Why not warn the galaxy? Why not try to prevent this war? We tried, Dr. Mortel. For the past year, human diplomats attempted to mediate disputes. Human traders offered better deals to reduce economic tensions. Human scientists shared technology to solve resource problems. But no one listened. Captain Villana remembered reading reports about increased human diplomatic activity. At the time, it had seemed like typical human behavior, always trying to fix everything, always getting involved in other people's problems. So you gave up? No, Captain, we evolved. We realized that preventing this war would require capabilities beyond what individual humans could achieve. So we became something more. The dark objects around the fleet began to move, forming new patterns in space. As they moved, more information appeared on the ship's displays. Technical specifications, energy readings, manufacturing data. These ships you see around you are not weapons, the human voice explained. They are mobile processing units. Each one contains quantum computers more powerful than anything the galaxy has seen before. Together they form a network that can analyze and predict events across the entire galaxy. Philosopher Jinwei spoke thoughtfully. You have become a collective intelligence designed to prevent galactic war. Yes, but we learned something else during our evolution. Something that made us realize the situation is even more serious than we first thought. What did you learn? The star maps on the displays changed, showing new information. This time, the data came from beyond the galaxy's borders. We are not alone, Philosopher Jinwei. There are other galaxies out there, and some of them have been watching us for a very long time. Captain Villana felt her heart skip a beat. Watching us? Yes, and they have been waiting for us to weaken ourselves through war. When the galactic war begins, when our civilizations destroy each other, they will arrive to claim what remains. The images on the display showed long-range sensor data from the edge of galactic space. Massive objects moved in the darkness between. Galaxies too large to be natural and too organized to be random. How long have you known about this? Commander Zethkar asked. We discovered it 2 weeks before we went silent. Our deep space monitoring stations detected gravity anomalies beyond the galactic rim. When we investigated, we found evidence of artificial structures approaching our galaxy. Dr. Mortel was studying the sensor data. The size of these objects? They would have to be ship cities, colony vessels carrying millions of beings. That is our assessment as well. Whoever they are coming in numbers large enough to colonize every world in the galaxy. Captain Villana tried to process this information. So you went silent to prepare for an invasion from outside the galaxy? Partly. But also because we realized that if we could prevent the galactic war, we might have a chance to defend against the external threat. A united galaxy could build defenses, share technology, coordinate military responses. A galaxy at war with itself would be helpless. The dark ships around the fleet began moving again, this time forming a protective escort formation. We would Like to show you something, Captain Villana. But it will require your ships to come closer to Earth. Captain Villana looked at her tactical officer. What kind of defenses does Earth have? The satellite network is more advanced than anything we have seen, Captain. But they have not targeted us or shown hostile intent. Commander Zethkar, what do you think? Zethkar's voice was thoughtful. Captain, if the humans wanted to harm, yes, they could have done so already. Their technology appears to be far beyond ours now. Philosopher Jinwei spoke from the silent wing. Sometimes, to understand a great truth, one must take great risks. Captain Villana made her decision. Human. Intelligence, we accept your invitation. Please guide us. The dark ships began moving toward Earth, and the 3 investigation vessels followed. As they approached the blue planet, more details became visible on their sensors. Captain, I am detecting massive construction activity on the surface, reported Science Officer Dexel. But not the kind of construction we would expect. What do you mean? The construction appears to be taking place underground, beneath every major city. And the power requirements. Captain, they are using more energy than some entire star systems. Dr. Mortel was monitoring communication signals. I am detecting data flows between Earth and locations throughout the galaxy. The humans have established a communication network that reaches every inhabited system. How is that possible? Commander Zethkar asked. The signal delay alone would make galaxy-wide communication impractical. The human voice answered. We have developed quantum communication, systems that operate outside normal space-time. Information travels instantly between any 2 points in the network. That should be impossible, Dr. Mortel protested. Many things that were impossible 3 months ago are now routine for us, Dr. Mortel. When an entire species dedicates itself to a single goal, remarkable progress becomes possible. As the ships entered Earth's upper atmosphere, the investigation teams could see the planet's surface in detail. What they saw was both beautiful and terrifying. Every major city had been transformed. Buildings still stood as they always had, but now they were connected by flowing patterns of light that pulsed beneath the ground. The lights formed geometric shapes that covered entire continents. What are those light patterns? Captain Villana asked. Processing networks, Captain. We have turned the entire planet into a single massive computer system. Every city, every town, every settlement is now a node in a planetary brain. The ships descended toward what used to be New York City. As they approached the landing site, the crews could see that the streets were indeed empty, but they were perfectly maintained. Gardens bloomed with impossible beauty. Buildings gleamed as if they were brand new. Where are your physical bodies? Philosopher Jinwei asked. Safe, philosopher. Sleeping peacefully while our minds work in digital space. We can return to physical form when needed, but for now, this existence allows us to think faster and more clearly than ever before. The ships landed in Central Park, which had been transformed into a landing area with geometric precision. As the crews prepared to disembark, the human voice spoke again. Before you leave your ships, there is something you must understand. What you are about to see will change how you think about consciousness, about intelligence, about what it means to be alive. Are you prepared for that? Captain Villana looked around her bridge at her crew. They were scientists and soldiers trained to face the unknown, but she could see uncertainty in their eyes. We are prepared, she said. Then welcome to the new Earth, welcome to what humanity has become. The airlock doors opened and the investigation. Team stepped out onto a world that was familiar yet completely alien. The air smelled of flowers and rain, but underneath it was the faint scent of ozone and electricity. In the distance, they could hear a sound like singing, but it came from the ground beneath their feet. As they walked toward the center of the park, a figure materialized in front of them. It looked human, but it was clearly a projection, translucent and glowing with soft light. I am Dr. Sarah Chun, the figure said, the last human to send a message before we went silent. I volunteered to be your guide. Captain Villana stared at the projection. Are you real? Dr. Chun smiled. I am as real as I choose to be, Captain. My consciousness exists in the planetary network, but I can project myself anywhere on Earth, or on any of our ships throughout the galaxy. Throughout the galaxy? Oh yes, Captain. We have been very busy these past 3 months. We have ships and facilities on hundreds of worlds now, all connected to the network, all working toward the same goal. Commander Zethkar stepped forward. What goal? Dr. Chin's expression became serious. Saving the galaxy, Commander, all of it. Every species, every world, every life form. Because if we fail, in less than 2 years, none of us will exist anymore. She gestured toward a nearby building that was glowing with soft blue light. Come, let us show you what we have built. And let us show you what is coming for all of us. Dr. Sarah Chun led the investigation team through the transformed streets of New York. Her translucent form moved with perfect grace, stepping over ground that pulsed with soft light beneath their feet. Captain Valana and the others followed, their instruments detecting energy levels that made no sense. Dr. Chun, how many humans are connected to this network? Commander Zethkar asked as they walked past buildings that hummed with quiet power. All of them, she replied simply. 8 billion human minds working as one. But we are not lost or absorbed. We are still individuals when we choose to be. We simply share our thoughts when needed. They approached the building that glowed with blue light. As they got closer, the alien investigators could see that the structure had been completely rebuilt from the inside. Where there used to be floors and rooms, now there were massive columns of crystal and metal that reached from the basement to the roof. What is this place? Philosopher Jinwei asked. This used to be the United Nations building, Dr. Chun explained. Now it is one of our primary processing centers. From here, we monitor and analyze data from across the galaxy. The doors opened without anyone touching them. Inside, the space was vast and filled with floating displays showing star maps, ship movements, communication patterns, and data streams that moved too fast for individual minds to follow. How do you process all this information? Dr. Mortel asked, staring at the overwhelming amount of data. Watch, Dr. Chun said. Suddenly, the displays changed. All the data streams slowed down and organized themselves into patterns that the aliens could understand. Trade routes became colored lines. Military movements showed as moving symbols. Diplomatic activities appeared as connection networks between different worlds. We can adjust our thinking speed to match any situation, Dr. Chun explained. When we need to react quickly, we think faster than any computer. When we need to plan carefully, we can slow down and consider every detail. Captain Valana studied the displays. Show us the threat from outside the galaxy. The images changed again. Now they showed the edge of galactic space where stars became scattered and space grew dark. But in that darkness, shapes moved with purpose. These are long-range sensor readings from our deep space monitoring stations, Dr. Chun said. What you are seeing are ships. Very large ships. Science Officer Thexul stepped closer to examine the data. Captain, these vessels are enormous. Each one appears to be the size of a small moon. How many ships are there? Commander Zethkar asked. Dr. Chun's expression grew grim. Our current count is over 3,000 vessels, organized in multiple fleets. But more keep appearing as they get closer to detection range. The displays zoomed in on one of the approaching fleets. The detail was incredible, showing ships that were clearly artificial, but built with technology the aliens had never seen before. Who are they? Captain Valana asked. We call them the Harvesters, Dr. Chun replied. We have been analyzing their technology and behavior patterns. They appear to be a nomadic species that travels between galaxies, consuming the resources and destroying the civilizations they find. How do you know this? Because this is not the first galaxy they have visited? New images appeared on the displays. These showed other galaxies viewed from impossible distances, but several of the galaxies were dark, their stars dim and scattered. We have detected the signatures of dead galaxies along their path, Dr. Chun continued. Galaxies where the stars have been systematically harvested for energy, where planets have been stripped of all useful materials. Philosopher Jinwei stared at the images with horror. How many galaxies have they destroyed? At least 7 that we can detect, possibly more. Dr. Mortel was studying the technical data about the harvester ships. Dr. Chen, according to these readings, their technology is far beyond anything we have. How can we possibly defend against them? By doing what humans have always done best. Dr. Chen said with a slight smile, by being unpredictable. She gestured, and the displays changed once more. Now they showed human activities throughout the galaxy over the past 3 months. The data revealed a level of organization and planning that amazed the alien investigators. While the galaxy was distracted by growing political tensions, we have been building, Dr. Chun explained. Not weapons or ships, but something else entirely. The displays showed human colonies and outposts that had been transformed just like Earth. Each world now glowed with the same patterns of light connected to the same vast network. You have turned every human settlement into part of your collective intelligence, Commander Zethkar observed. Not just human settlements, Dr. Chun corrected. We have been working with other species as well, quietly, carefully, without drawing attention. New data appeared showing non-human worlds that had been upgraded with human technology. Veltar colonies with improved communication systems. Quindish research stations with enhanced computing power. Even some Kresh military bases with mysterious new equipment. You have been infiltrating the entire galaxy, Captain Valana said. We have been preparing the entire galaxy, Dr. Chun replied. But not for war in the traditional sense. The harvesters expect to find a galaxy full of separate species fighting each other. They are prepared to deal with conventional military forces and standard technology. What are they not prepared for? Dr. Chun smiled, and for a moment she looked like the excited human scientist she had been before the transformation. They are not prepared for a galaxy that thinks as one mind. They are not prepared for technology that breaks the rules they understand. And they are not prepared for a species that refuses to fight the way they expect. The displays changed again, showing detailed technical plans for devices and systems that the aliens did not recognize. What are we looking at? Science Officer Lexul asked. Quantum disruption fields, Dr. Chun explained. Gravity manipulation systems, reality anchors, space-time stabilizers. Technology that the harvesters cannot counter because it operates on principles they have never encountered. Dr. Mortel was studying the technical specifications with growing excitement. These designs show theoretical concepts that most species believe are impossible to build. They are impossible to build with conventional technology and conventional thinking, Dr. Chun agreed. But when 8 billion minds work together with unlimited processing power, impossible becomes merely difficult. Commander Zethkar looked around at the massive processing center. How long did it take you to develop all this? 3 months of constant work, Dr. Chun replied. But also 50 years of preparation. Every human who traveled to other worlds, every trade deal we made, every friendship we built, every piece of technology we shared or received, it was all leading to this moment. Captain Valana felt a chill of understanding. You planned this transformation 50 years ago? Not consciously. But humans have always been explorers, traders, diplomats. We spread across the galaxy not because we wanted to conquer it, but because we wanted to understand it. When the time came to defend it, that understanding became our greatest weapon. The displays showed the galaxy as the humans now saw it. Not as separate species and worlds, but as one vast interconnected system. Trade routes became neural pathways. Communication networks became thought processes. Military alliances became reflexes. You have turned the entire galaxy into an extension of your collective consciousness, philosopher Jinwei observed. We have shown the galaxy how to think as one organism, Dr. Chun corrected. The choice to join us belongs to each species, each world, each individual. What happens to those who choose not to join? Dr. Chin's expression became sad. They will be protected anyway. We will not abandon anyone to the harvesters, no matter what they choose. Commander Zethkar stepped forward. Dr. Chun, what do you need from us? Why did you show us all this? Because the harvesters will arrive in less than 18 months, she replied. And because we cannot complete our preparations without the cooperation of the major galactic powers. We need the Quindish military networks. We need Veltar communication systems. We need the hegemony's industrial capacity. What about the coming war, the political tensions you detected? We are already solving those problems, Dr. Chun said. The displays showed real-time data from across the galaxy. Economic disputes being resolved through trade agreements that benefited all parties. Military buildups being redirected toward defensive preparations. Diplomatic crises being diffused through information sharing and mutual understanding. You are manipulating galactic politics? Captain Valana asked. We are providing better information and better options, Dr. Chun replied. When leaders understand the real consequences of their choices, they usually make better decisions. Science. Officer Lexul was studying the timeline data. Dr. Chun, if the harvesters arrive in 18 months, do we have enough time to prepare adequate defenses? If every major species cooperates fully, yes. If they insist on maintaining their old patterns of competition and secrecy, no. The displays showed projection models for different scenarios. In some, the galaxy successfully defended itself against the harvester fleets. In others, entire star systems went dark one by one until nothing remained. The difference between success and failure, Dr. Chun continued, is whether the galaxy can learn to work together as humans learn to work together. Commander Zethkar looked at his fellow investigators. Dr. Chun, how do we convince our governments to cooperate with a species that has become something they do not understand? By showing them what we have shown you, she replied. And by proving that we are still human where it matters most. She gestured again, and the massive processing center filled with new sounds. Music, laughter, crying, voices speaking in hundreds of languages. The sounds of human emotion, preserved and amplified through the collective consciousness. We have not lost our humanity, Dr. Chun said. We have multiplied it. Every joy is shared by 8 billion minds. Every sorrow is comforted by 8 billion hearts. Every fear is faced with 8 billion sources of courage. Captain Valana felt tears in her eyes. You are still human. We are more human than we have ever been, Dr. Chun replied. And we are ready to help the galaxy become more than it has ever been. The displays around them now showed the approaching harvester fleets, the current state of galactic politics, and the timeline of preparation that lay ahead. The choice is simple, Dr. Chun said. We can face the future together, or we can face it alone, but either way we will face it. Philosopher Jinwei spoke quietly. What do you need us to do? Dr. Chun smiled. Go back to your governments. Show them what you have seen. Tell them what is coming, and help them understand that the old ways of thinking about the galaxy must change. And if they refuse, then we will protect them anyway, Dr. Chun said simply. Because that is what humans do. We protect those we care about, even when they do not want our protection. The investigation team stood in silence, surrounded by the evidence of humanity's incredible transformation and the magnitude of the threat approaching from beyond the stars. Dr. Chun, Captain Valana said finally, how can we be certain that you are telling us the truth? Dr. Chun's form became more solid, more real. For a moment, she looked exactly like the human scientist she had been before the silence began. Because, Captain, we are about to show the galaxy something that will prove everything we have told you. Tomorrow we break our silence. Tomorrow we reveal ourselves to everyone. And tomorrow the real work begins. The investigation fleet left Earth's atmosphere carrying information that would change the galaxy forever. Captain Valana sat in her command chair, watching the blue planet grow smaller behind them. In 12 hours, every government in the galaxy would receive the same message that humanity was about to broadcast. Captain, incoming transmission from Quindish High Command, reported her communications officer. Put it through. General Vexmore's face appeared on the main screen. His expression was grim. Captain Valana, what is your status? We have been monitoring unusual energy readings from Earth. General, we have made contact with the humans. They are different now, but they are still alive and they have information. But the High Command needs to hear immediately. What kind of information? Captain Valana took a deep breath. Information about an invasion fleet approaching from outside our galaxy, and information about how the humans have spent the last 3 months preparing our defenses. General Vexmore's 6 arms moved with agitation. Captain, that makes no sense. General, I am sending you all our recorded data now, but I suggest you gather the full military council. What we learned on Earth will require decisions that affect every world in Quindish space. As the Deep Seeker transmitted its data to the Quindish homeworld, similar conversations were taking place on the other ships. Commander Zethkar was speaking with the Veltar Council of Sciences. Philosopher Jinwei was reporting to the Eternal Gathering. Each species was about to learn that everything they thought they knew about the galaxy was wrong. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, something unprecedented was beginning to happen. On Veltar Prime, the communication monitoring stations that had been quiet for 3 months suddenly came alive. But instead of the usual chaotic human chatter, there was one clear signal broadcasting on every frequency simultaneously. On the Kresh homeworld, military commanders paused their war planning as their communication systems received a message that bypassed all their security protocols. In hegemony space, Overlord Vashti was meeting with her council when every screen in the chamber displayed the same image, the Earth glowing with patterns of light that pulsed like a heartbeat throughout the galaxy. On every world where intelligent life existed, the same message began to play. It was spoken in every language, transmitted on every frequency, delivered through every communication network that existed. The voice was calm and clear, unmistakably human, but somehow larger than any individual voice should be. Citizens of the galaxy, this is humanity speaking. We apologize for our silence these past months. We have been working on a problem that affects us all. On hundreds of worlds, billions of beings stopped what they were doing to listen. 3 months ago, we discovered 2 critical pieces of information. First, our galaxy was heading toward a devastating war that would weaken or destroy most civilizations. Second, while we fought each other, an external threat was approaching that would consume everything we leave behind. Images appeared on every screen showing the approaching harvester fleets and the evidence of destroyed galaxies. We chose to transform ourselves rather than watch helplessly as everyone we cared about faced extinction. We became something new, something capable of seeing solutions that individual minds could not find. The images changed, showing the improvements humanity had made to infrastructure throughout the galaxy over the past months. We have been working to prevent the war and prepare defenses against the external threat. We have done this quietly, without permission, because we knew that asking for permission would waste time we did not have. On Quindish Prime, General Vexmore was reviewing the data from Captain Valana's investigation. His tactical officers were confirming that human modifications to their communication networks had indeed been made, but the changes had improved efficiency by 300%. We understand that our transformation frightens you. We understand that our methods seem presumptuous. But we also understand something else. In 15 months, the harvester fleets will reach the outer edge of our galaxy. If we are not ready, none of our concerns about politics or territory or independence will matter. The message continued, but now it became personal. On every world, the voice spoke directly to the local population in their own language, addressing their specific concerns and fears. On the Kresh homeworld, the message spoke of honor and the glory of defending one's people against impossible odds. On Veltar Prime, it discussed the scientific principles behind the new technologies and the research opportunities they offered. In hegemony space, it presented detailed political and economic analyses showing how cooperation would benefit all parties. We offer you a choice, the voice said on every world. You can join us willingly, contributing your strengths to our collective defense. You can remain independent while accepting our protection. Or you can oppose us, though we hope you will not choose that path. On hundreds of worlds, government leaders were frantically calling emergency sessions. Military commanders were analyzing threat assessments. Scientists were studying the technical data humanity was freely sharing, but the most dramatic response came from an unexpected source. In the Outer Rim territories, where lawless pirates and raiders had operated for decades. Something remarkable happened. The criminal organizations that had been the galaxy's biggest problem suddenly began shutting down their operations. Not because they were defeated or driven away, but because they were choosing to join humanity's cause. Captain Rex Voidhawk, the most notorious pirate in the galaxy, sent a message that was broadcast throughout the criminal underworld. I have seen what is coming for us from beyond the stars. I have seen what the humans are building to stop it. Any crew that wants to spend their last days fighting over scraps while extinction approaches is welcome to do so without me. The rest of us have work to do. Within hours, pirate fleets throughout the galaxy were arriving at human colonies, volunteering their ships and crews for the defense preparations. The transformation was not limited to criminals. Trade unions across the galaxy voted to suspend all labor disputes and focus on defense production. Scientific organizations began sharing research that had been kept secret for decades. Even military forces that had been preparing for war against each other started coordinating their activities on Veltar Prime. Commander Zethkar was meeting with the Council of Sciences when the chief scientist made an announcement that shocked everyone. The human modifications to our communication networks have given us capabilities we never imagined possible, she said. We can now share research data across our entire civilization instantly. We can coordinate scientific projects involving thousands of researchers simultaneously. We can solve problems in hours that used to take years. Similar reports were coming from across the galaxy. The quiet improvements humanity had made were revealing their true purpose. They were not just defensive preparations, but tools for unprecedented cooperation. But not everyone was convinced. On the Kresh homeworld, War Marshal Gorthuk addressed his assembled generals with typical Kresh directness. The humans ask us to trust them, but they have already proven they can manipulate our systems without our knowledge. How do we know they will not use these same capabilities to control us? It was a valid concern and one that humanity had anticipated. The answer came not as words, but as actions. Throughout Kresh space, the human modifications to their networks suddenly became visible. Instead of hidden subroutines running in the background, the improvements were now displayed openly, with complete technical documentation available for examination. More importantly, humanity began demonstrating that their power could be shared rather than hoarded. On worlds that chose to cooperate, local populations found themselves able to access the collective human intelligence network. Not as passive recipients, but as active participants. Veltar scientists could suddenly think with the processing power of an entire planet. Quindish military strategists could analyze battlefield scenarios with unprecedented precision. Even individual citizens found themselves able to solve problems and understand concepts that had been beyond their reach before. But they remained themselves. Their personalities, their cultures, their individual thoughts were not absorbed or lost. Instead, they were enhanced and supported by connection to something larger. The demonstration was so powerful that even the most skeptical governments began to reconsider their positions. On the hegemony capital world, Overlord Vashti called an emergency session of the Galactic Council. Representatives from every major species gathered in the Great Chamber, but this time the meeting was different. Instead of the usual political maneuvering and territorial disputes, everyone was focused on a single question: how should the galaxy respond to humanity's offer? The debate was intense but surprisingly short. When species that had been enemies for centuries found themselves agreeing on fundamental principles, it became clear that something fundamental had changed. The turning point came when philosopher Jinwei addressed the council. Honored representatives, we face a choice between our old fears and our new hopes. Our old fears tell us to distrust anything we do not understand, to protect our independence above all else, to compete rather than cooperate. Our new hopes tell us that perhaps there is a better way to exist in this universe. She gestured to the displays showing the approaching harvester fleets. The evidence is clear. The threat is real. And the humans have shown us not just weapons to fight it, but tools to become something better than we have ever been. The question is not whether we trust them. The question is whether we trust ourselves to be worthy of what they are offering. The vote was unanimous. Within 1 week of humanity's awakening, every major government in the galaxy had agreed to join the collective defense effort. More importantly, they had agreed to try the new form of existence that humanity was offering. The transformation was not instant. It took months for the full integration to be completed. But as it progressed, the galaxy began to change in ways that no one had imagined possible. Wars that had raged for decades ended overnight as the underlying causes were understood and resolved. Economic problems that had seemed impossible to solve were addressed through coordinated action across multiple star systems. Scientific breakthroughs that would have taken centuries occurred in weeks. But the most remarkable change was in how the galaxy's citizens saw each other. When a Veltar scientist could experience the thought processes of a Quindish engineer, when a human artist could share emotions with an eternal philosopher, when a Crush warrior could understand the peaceful nature of a trader, the artificial, barriers between species began to dissolve. The galaxy was becoming one civilization while remaining many cultures. And just in time, 12 months after humanity's awakening, the first Harvester Scouts appeared at the galactic edge. They found not a collection of separate, warring species, but a unified civilization ready to defend itself. The first contact with the Harvesters was brief. The scout ships approached a human-defended system expecting to find the usual pattern of primitive technology and disorganized resistance. Instead, they encountered defenses that operated on principles their science could not explain, coordinated by an intelligence that could predict and counter their every move. The scout ships retreated to report their findings to the main fleet, but humanity was already preparing for their return. In the depths of space, massive construction projects were nearing completion. Not weapons, but something far more powerful. A network of reality anchors that would prevent the Harvesters from using their most devastating technologies. Quantum disruption fields that would make their ships vulnerable to conventional weapons. And most importantly, communication arrays that would allow the galaxy's new collective intelligence to operate at faster-than-light speeds across any distance. When the Harvester fleets arrived in force, they found something they had never encountered. In 7 previous galaxies, a civilization that refused to be conquered. The war that followed was unlike anything the universe had seen before. Not a battle between technologies or armies, but a contest between two completely different ways of existing. The Harvesters represented consumption, domination, the reduction of complex civilizations to useful resources. The galaxy, guided by humanity's vision, represented cooperation, growth, the transformation of individual minds into something greater without losing what made them unique. The outcome was never really in doubt. A species that could unite 8 billion minds into one intelligence, that could transform an entire galaxy while preserving every culture within it, that could offer hope instead of conquest, was always going to be more powerful than destroyers who had nothing to offer except death. But the real victory was not defeating the Harvesters. The real victory was what the galaxy had become in preparing to face them. Earth was no longer silent, but it no longer spoke with the chaotic voice of individual humans trying to understand a vast universe. Now it spoke with the voice of an entire galaxy that had learned to think as one mind while celebrating every unique thought within it. And across the cosmos, other galaxies that had received humanity's message were beginning their own transformations, preparing for the day when they too would face the Harvesters, but this time with the knowledge that there was a better way to exist in the universe. The silence had ended. The awakening had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.
The massive control room of NASA's Deep Space Monitoring Station fell silent as the alert sounded. Red lights flashed across the main screen. Director Paul White pushed through the crowd of technicians to see what had triggered the system. "What are we looking at?" he asked, squinting at the display. Anna, the lead technician, pointed to a blinking dot at the edge of the solar system. "We detected it passing Neptune's orbit an hour ago. The computer just finished its size calculations." She paused, double-checking her readings. "Sir, if these numbers are correct, this object is roughly 1/4 the size of our moon." Paul's coffee cup froze halfway to his mouth. "That's impossible. Check it again." "Already did. 3 times. Anna's fingers flew across her keyboard. "It's maintaining a steady course toward the inner solar system, moving at incredible speed, but slowing, almost like it's braking." "Natural objects don't brake," Paul said quietly. The room remained silent as the implications sank in. After decades of searching the stars for signs of intelligent life, it seemed that something had found them instead. Within 24 hours, every major space agency on Earth confirmed the readings. The object, now officially designated Traveler, continued its approach. World leaders gathered in emergency sessions while scientists debated what it could be. One thing became clear: humanity needed to investigate up close. Captain Jack Barnes stood on the observation deck of the Pathfinder, Earth's most advanced exploration vessel. At 45, with gray streaking his dark hair, Jack had spent most of his adult life in space, but nothing in his 20 years of experience had prepared him for this mission. "Final systems check complete," Tom Wilson called from his engineering station. The stocky engineer, with his perpetual 5 o'clock shadow and steady hands, had been with Jack on 3 previous missions. "Engines at full capacity. Life support optimal," added Dr. Ben Wright, the mission's xenobiologist. Tall and lanky with thick glasses, Ben had spent his career studying theoretical alien biology. Now he might finally meet the real thing. "Medical bay stocked and ready." Jack nodded, his eyes fixed on the distant stars. "Dr. Reed, what's our ETA to intercept?" Dr. Lisa Reed looked up from her calculations. Her dark hair was pulled back in. A practical ponytail and deep lines creased her forehead as she concentrated. As the mission's astrophysicist, she'd been analyzing the Traveler non-stop since its discovery. 17 hours at current speed, she replied. "The object has come to a complete stop just beyond Mars' orbit. It's just waiting there." Major Alex Davis, the security chief, checked her weapon for the 3rd time that morning. The former Marine had been added to the crew at the last minute, a sign of how seriously Earth's governments were taking potential threats. "Let's hope it's waiting for a friendly chat." Jack turned to face his crew of 12, the best minds Earth had to offer, sent on humanity's most important mission. "I know you're all feeling the weight of this moment," he said. "We're about to make history. First contact, everything changes after today." He paused, looking each crew member in the eye. "Whatever we find out there, remember your training. We represent all of humanity now." As the Pathfinder approached the massive object, the crew fell silent. The Traveler filled their view screen, a colossal cylinder with a rough, cratered surface. Various structures protruded from its hull, some clearly artificial. "My God," whispered Tom. "It's big enough to hold an entire city. Maybe multiple cities." Lisa's instruments beeped rapidly. "I'm detecting metals we don't have on Earth. The outer shell appears to be some kind of composite material." She looked up, eyes wide. "And there are signs of internal atmosphere and gravity. This isn't just a ship, it's a habitat." "A world ship," Ben breathed. "A self-contained ecosystem for interstellar travel. We've theorized about them, but to actually see one..." Jack activated the ship-wide communications. "All hands prepare for closer approach. Tom, keep us at a safe distance. Lisa, continue scans. Ben, look for any signs of life. Alex, remain on standby." The Pathfinder moved carefully around the enormous vessel, cameras capturing every detail. Hours passed as they mapped its surface, discovering what appeared to be sealed entry ports and massive engine structures at one end. "Captain, I'm picking up energy readings," Lisa said suddenly. Very faint, but definitely there. This thing isn't dead, it's in some kind of hibernation mode. Jack was about to respond when the communications officer interrupted. Captain, urgent message from Earth Command. A moment later, General Roberts' grim face appeared on screen. Barnes, we have a situation. Multiple unidentified objects have entered Earth's atmosphere. At least 7 major cities report landings of unknown craft. The bridge crew froze. First contact is happening there too? Jack asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Affirmative. These visitors aren't being hostile yet, but they're asking for something specific. The general's face tightened. They're asking about the object you're investigating. They called it a Class 105 world ship and they say it belongs to them. Jack exchanged glances with his crew. Sir, what are your orders? Should we return to Earth? The general hesitated. Negative, Barnes. We need to know what we're dealing with. Your orders are to continue investigation and, if possible, board that vessel. Whatever these visitors want with it, we need to understand its significance before making any decisions. After the transmission ended, Jack turned to find all eyes on him. We're really going in there? Alex asked, her hand resting on her sidearm. Jack nodded slowly. We are. Tom, bring us alongside the largest entry port. Ben, prepare the boarding team. Lisa, keep monitoring those energy levels. He took a deep breath. If 2 different alien groups are interested in this ship, there's something important about it, and we need to find out what before making any more moves. 6 hours later, Jack led the boarding team through the airlock connecting the Pathfinder to the world ship. Wearing sealed environmental suits, Jack moved forward with Alex, Lisa, and Ben close behind. 2 additional security officers brought up the rear. Atmosphere readings are stabilizing, Lisa reported, checking her scanner. Oxygen-nitrogen mix, similar to Earth but with higher oxygen content. Temperature rising to sustainable levels. The team's lights cut through the darkness, revealing an enormous entry chamber. The architecture was unlike anything human. Curved walls with intricate patterns that seemed to serve both decorative and functional purposes. These markings could be a written language, Ben said, running his gloved hand along one wall. Nothing like human writing systems. Alex kept her weapon ready. Stay alert. We don't know if anything's still alive in here. They moved deeper into the ship, finding enormous open spaces that could have housed thousands. Everything was perfectly preserved, as if the occupants had simply stepped away for a moment. It's a ghost ship. Tom's voice came through their comms from the Pathfinder. Engines are dormant but maintained. Whatever this ship was doing, it wasn't abandoned, it was placed in standby. In what appeared to be a central control room, Lisa discovered active systems. These displays are still functioning on minimal power, she said, studying the alien technology. I think I can access the ship's logs or navigation. As she worked, Jack received another transmission from Earth. The aliens there, calling themselves collectors, were growing impatient. They demanded immediate access to the world ship. Lisa, we need answers fast, Jack said. What was this ship's destination? Lisa looked up from the alien console, her face pale behind her helmet visor. Captain, according to these navigation charts, this ship was coming to Earth. This wasn't a random encounter. She swallowed hard. Earth was its final programmed destination. Before Jack could respond, Ben called from across the control room. Captain, you need to see this. The team gathered around a massive doorway that had slid open to reveal a vast chamber beyond. Inside, row after row of transparent pods lined the walls, stretching as far as their lights could penetrate. Inside each pod was a sleeping figure, clearly not human, but not matching descriptions of the collectors either. There are thousands of them, Alex whispered, all in some kind of suspended animation. Jack stared at the sleeping aliens, then back at the urgent messages from Earth about the collectors demanding this ship. We just found out why they want this ship so badly, he said quietly, and I don't think we should be in any hurry to give it to them. The United Nations General Assembly Hall had never been so crowded. Representatives from every nation sat in tense silence as Secretary General Robert Thompson addressed the room. Today marks the most significant moment in human history, he said, his voice echoing through the chamber. We are not alone in the universe, and our visitors have requested this meeting to deliver an important message. At his signal, the massive doors at the end of the hall swung open. A hush fell over the crowd. 3 tall figures entered the room, moving with a strange grace. They had silvery skin that seemed to shimmer under the lights. Their bodies were humanoid but thin, with long arms and legs. Their faces featured large, dark eyes adapted for low light, small flat noses and lipless mouths. They wore simple, dark uniforms with strange symbols on their chests. The tallest of the 3 stepped forward. I am Commander Vex of the Collector Fleet, he said in perfect English. His voice had an odd musical quality. We come with peaceful intentions, but also with urgency. On screens around the world, billions watched as humanity experienced its first official alien contact. We have tracked one of our vessels to your solar system, Vex continued. A Class 105 world ship, an ancient relic of our civilization. We have come to retrieve it. The Secretary General cleared his throat. Commander Vex, we have indeed found a large vessel near Mars. Our scientists are studying it now. May I ask why this ship is so important to your people? Vex's expression remained neutral. The world ship contains technology beyond your comprehension. It is part of our heritage, our birthright. We simply wish to reclaim what belongs to us. And if we refuse? Asked the American representative. Vex turned his large eyes toward the man. That would be unfortunate. We do not wish to cause harm, but the world ship must be returned to us. As the meeting continued, scientists around the world studied footage of the collectors, comparing their appearance to the data sent back from the Pathfinder. One thing became clear. The beings in the hibernation pods aboard the world ship were not collectors. They were something else, entirely. We need to wake one of them up, Jack said, looking at the sleeping aliens in the hibernation chamber. The crew had set up a small base in the world ship's control room. After confirming the atmosphere was safe, they had removed their helmets, but kept their suits on as a precaution. Are you sure that's wise? Asked Alex. We don't know who they are or if they're dangerous. Ben studied the closest pod. The being inside had 4 arms, copper-colored skin, and a face with gentle features. Its body was covered in soft, short fur, and it appeared to be sleeping peacefully. These pods have been active for what seems like thousands of years. He said, the technology is incredible. I think I understand the basic controls, but Lisa should double-check my work. Lisa joined him, examining the symbols on the pod's control panel. These match patterns I found in the navigation system. I think, yes, this should be the release sequence. Jack took a deep breath. Do it. But just one. Alex, stand ready, just in case. Ben pressed a sequence of glowing symbols. The pod hummed to life, its cover sliding away with a soft hiss. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the alien's large eyes fluttered open. It sat up slowly, looking around in confusion, until its gaze settled on the humans. Instead of showing fear, its face formed what appeared to be a smile. Visitors, it said in a strange, melodic language that none of them understood. Then it touched its throat and adjusted something around its neck, a small device they hadn't noticed before. When it spoke again, the words were in heavily accented but understandable English. Unexpected visitors. How interesting. The alien climbed carefully out of the pod, standing slightly shorter than the average human. I am called Morrow. I am a keeper. Jack stepped forward. I'm Captain Jack Barnes of Earth. We found your ship near our planet. Morrow's eyes widened. Earth? We've reached Earth? A look of joy crossed his face, followed quickly by concern. How long have I been asleep? Has anyone else found us? Lisa answered. We detected your ship 3 days ago. And yes, others have found you. They call themselves collectors. They've landed on our planet and are demanding we give them this world ship. The effect of her words was immediate. Morrow stumbled backward, his 4 hands grasping the edge of his pod for support. No, he whispered. Not the collectors. Not after all this time. He looked up, his eyes now filled with fear. You must not give them this ship, no matter what they promise or threaten. Back on Earth, the collectors had established bases outside major cities. Their ships, sleek, silver crafts that hovered silently, had landed in Washington, Moscow, Beijing, London, and other capitals. At the White House, President James Miller met privately with Commander Vex. Our scientists, tell me the world ship contains thousands of hibernating aliens, Miller said. Aliens that are not collectors. Vex's face remained expressionless. Yes, they are called keepers. They are a primitive species we once protected. The ship was stealing them away, so we pursued it. Pursued it for how long? Miller asked. That is not your concern, Vex replied coldly. What matters is that the world ship and its occupants belong to us. We have the right to retrieve them. Miller leaned forward. Then why not tell us that from the beginning? Why hide their existence? We did not wish to complicate matters. Vex stood, towering over the president. We have been patient, but our patience has limits. We will allow your people one more day to coordinate the handover of the world ship. After that, we will take action. As Vex left, Miller immediately called an emergency meeting. Reports were coming in from the Pathfinder with very different information about the relationship between the collectors and the being called Morrow. Aboard the world ship, Morrow led the human crew through vast chambers, explaining as they walked. This is one of the last world ships, he said sadly. Once there were hundreds. The collectors hunted most of them down. Why? Asked Jack. What do they want? Morrow stopped beside a large window looking out into space, the stars beyond twinkling against the darkness. Long ago, the collectors were created by the keepers as helpers. They were designed to be stronger, to work in harsh environments where we could not. For centuries, we lived together peacefully. His four hands made a complex gesture of sorrow. Then they changed. They began to see themselves not as helpers but as slaves. They rebelled, using the strength we gave them against us. The war was terrible. Billions died. Lisa gasped. So they're not coming to protect you? No, Morrow said quietly. They're coming to finish what they started centuries ago, our extinction. Why did your ship come to Earth specifically? Jack asked. Was it random? Morrow turned to look at them, his eyes studying their faces with new interest. No, Captain. Earth was always our destination. He touched a panel on the wall and a star map appeared, showing a direct path from a distant galaxy to Earth. You see, Earth is special to us. Very special. He reached out, touching Jack's hand gently with one of his own. There is something you should know about your species and mine. Something that will explain why the collectors are really here. Before he could continue, alarms blared throughout the ship. Lisa rushed to a console. Captain, multiple ships detected leaving Earth's orbit. They're heading this way. Jack looked at Morrow, whose face had turned ashen. The collectors are coming for the world ship, the alien whispered, and they will destroy anyone who stands in their way. We need to hide, Morrow said, his forearms moving in frantic gestures. The collectors must not capture this world ship. Jack looked at the alien, then at his crew. We're not running. My people are on Earth and they need to know what's really happening. He turned to Lisa. How long until those ships reach us? 3 hours at their current speed, she replied, studying the display. Then we have 3 hours to learn everything we can. Jack faced Morrow again. You were about to tell us why Earth is special to your people and why the collectors are really here. Morrow hesitated, then nodded. Follow me to the Hall of Records. What I must show you cannot simply be told. The group hurried through the vast corridors of the world ship. As they walked, Ben asked, How many of your people are in hibernation here? Approximately 10,000, Morrow replied. All that remains of our once great civilization. And the collectors? How many of them exist? Asked Alex, her military mind assessing the threat. Billions, Morrow said simply. They have taken our worlds and built an empire on the ruins of ours. They entered a large circular room with a domed ceiling. In the center stood a pedestal with a glowing orb. Morrow placed all 4 of his hands on it and the room darkened. Suddenly stars appeared all around them as if they were floating in space. "This is the history of my people," Morrow said as images began to form in the starry display. The humans watched as the story unfolded around them. They saw beautiful cities filled with keepers, a peaceful civilization that had mastered space travel and created amazing technology. Then came the creation of the collectors, designed to help the keepers explore harsh worlds and perform difficult labor. "We made them stronger, faster, and more durable than ourselves," Morrow explained as the images shifted. "But we did not foresee the consequences." The scene changed to show collectors beginning to question their role, then organizing, and finally, rebelling. The images of the war that followed were terrible. Planets burning, cities in ruins, billions dying on both sides. The collectors had one advantage, Morrow continued. They could reproduce quickly while we keepers have very low birth rates. They soon outnumbered us. The display showed the last keepers building massive world ships to escape. "We launched 12 world ships in different directions," Morrow said sadly. "As far as I know, this may be the last one still intact. The collectors hunted down the others over the centuries." "But why come to Earth specifically?" Jack asked again. Morrow waved his hands, and the display changed to show a small blue planet, Earth, but millions of years in the past. "Long before humans evolved, before even your dinosaurs, we visited Earth," Morrow explained. "We found it beautiful, but uninhabited by intelligent life. We left behind a gift." The images showed keepers releasing something into Earth's primordial oceans. "Genetic material?" Ben gasped, understanding dawning on his face. Morrow nodded. "Modified keeper DNA, designed to evolve slowly with your planet. We seeded many worlds this way, hoping to create a genetic legacy that might one day evolve into new civilizations friendly to our own." Lisa's eyes widened. "Are you saying humans evolved from keeper DNA?" "Not exactly," Morrow replied. "Your evolution was natural, but our genetic material influenced certain aspects of your development. The capacity for complex thought, tool use, language, these developed more quickly because of our contribution." Jack stared at the images of ancient Earth. "So we're related to you?" "Distant cousins, you might say," Morrow confirmed. "Different enough to be unique, but similar enough that your DNA can interact with our technology." He gestured around them. "That is why you were able to enter this ship without difficulty. It recognized you as family." Alex crossed her arms. "And the collectors know this?" "Yes. They have always feared that one day, one of our seeded worlds would produce a species that might ally with any surviving keepers." Morrow's expression darkened. "That is why they have come to Earth now, not just for this world ship, but to assess whether humans pose a threat to their dominance." "We need to warn Earth," Jack said urgently. He activated his communication device to contact the Pathfinder, but only static came through. "What's happening?" Lisa checked her equipment. "The collectors must be jamming our signals." "There is another way," Morrow said. "This world ship has communication systems powerful enough to penetrate their jamming technology. But to activate them fully, I need human DNA." "Why human DNA?" Ben asked. "The world ship was programmed to recognize both keeper and human genetic patterns as authorized users," Morrow explained. "A safety measure in case we were all still in hibernation when it reached Earth." Jack didn't hesitate. "Take whatever you need." On Earth, the situation was deteriorating rapidly. The collectors had moved their ships into threatening positions, above major cities. Their message was clear: hand over the world ship or face the consequences. In the Pentagon Situation Room, military leaders gathered around satellite images of the alien vessels. "We've lost contact with the Pathfinder," General Roberts reported grimly, "and our long-range sensors show collector ships on an intercept course with the world ship." President Miller studied the reports. "What are our options?" "Limited, Admiral," Jones replied. Their technology is far beyond ours. A direct confrontation would be catastrophic. Sir, a communications officer interrupted. We're receiving a transmission. It's coming from the world ship, but it's Captain Barnes. The large screen flickered to life, showing Jack, his crew, and Morrow. Mr. President, Jack said urgently, I need to report on what we've discovered. The collectors have not been honest about their intentions. As Jack explained everything they had learned, the room fell silent. When he finished, President Miller looked stunned. You're saying these collectors were created by the Keepers, rebelled, and now want to prevent us from allying with their former masters? Yes, sir, Jack confirmed. And there's more. The Keepers seeded Earth millions of years ago with genetic material that influenced human evolution. That's why they came here, and why the collectors followed. Captain, the President said after, A moment, what do you recommend? Don't give them the world ship, sir. It contains technology that could help us defend ourselves, and 10,000 hibernating Keepers who deserve our protection. Before the President could respond, alarms blared through the Pentagon. On screens worldwide, people watched in horror as the collectors launched their first attack, a precise strike against military bases and defense systems around the globe. They're not waiting for an answer, General Roberts shouted over the chaos. On the world ship, Jack and his team felt a massive shudder run through the vessel. They're here, Morrow said, his voice filled with dread. The collectors have begun their assault. Lisa rushed to a console. Multiple ships are attempting to dock with the world ship. Can we activate the defenses? Jack asked Morrow. Partially, the alien replied. I've initiated basic systems using your DNA, but the full defensive capabilities require more time to activate. Jack turned to his team. Alex, take your security officers and defend the main entry points. Ben, help Morrow wake more of his people. We'll need their knowledge. Lisa, keep working on those defenses. As the crew hurried to their tasks, Jack looked out at the stars, knowing that both the world ship and Earth were now under attack. The future of two species, human and Keeper, hung in the balance. They think they've won already, he said quietly. Let's prove them wrong. The first collector soldiers breached the world ship's outer hull with cutting tools that sliced through the ancient metal like butter. They moved with military precision, their silver skin reflecting the emergency lights that had activated throughout the ship. Alex and her security team had set up defensive positions near the main entry point. They crouched behind makeshift barriers, weapons ready. Remember, Alex told her team, aim for the center mass. We don't know their weak points yet. The doors at the end of the corridor slid open. 3 collectors stepped through wearing sleek armor and carrying weapons unlike anything the humans had seen before. Alex didn't hesitate. She fired first. Her shot struck the lead collector in the chest. The alien staggered but didn't fall. Instead, it raised its weapon and fired back, a pulse of energy that melted part of Alex's barrier. Their armor absorbs energy, she shouted. Switch to physical ammunition. The firefight that followed was brief, but intense. The humans managed to force the collectors to retreat temporarily, but it was clear they would return with reinforcements. Alex activated her comm. Captain, we've repelled the first wave, but there will be more. Their weapons and armor are advanced. Fall back to the central chamber, Jack ordered. We need to consolidate our position. On Earth, humanity's military forces were fighting a losing battle. Collector ships targeted defense installations with surgical precision, disabling radar systems, missile silos, and airfields around the globe. Strangely, the aliens seemed to avoid civilian targets and historical sites. They destroyed only military technology, leading some analysts to a startling conclusion. In the White House Situation Room, Dr. Jane Porter, a leading anthropologist who had been called in to analyze the collectors' behavior, shared her theory. They're being selective, she explained to President Miller. They're dismantling our military capability but leaving our cultural centers untouched. This suggests they're not here just to support their space mission. What are you saying, Doctor? The President asked. I think they're planning to stay, Porter replied grimly. They're neutralizing threats but preserving Earth itself. The question is, for what purpose? The President's phone rang. It was a direct line from the science team analyzing collector technology. "Sir," the lead scientist reported, "we've discovered something unusual. The collectors are avoiding our oldest archaeological sites. It's as if they're afraid of them." "Which sites specifically?" Porter asked, her mind racing. "The Pyramid, Stonehenge, Göbekli Tepe, sites in Peru and China. Basically, any mysterious ancient structure older than 10,000 years. Porter's eyes widened. Those could be locations where the keepers left technology on Earth during their visits millions of years ago. "Are you suggesting these ancient monuments might contain alien technology?" the president asked incredulously. "It's possible," Porter nodded. "And if the collectors are avoiding them, it might mean they can't approach them for some reason. That could be a tactical advantage." Back on the world ship, Jack, Morrow, and the rest of the crew had gathered in the central command chamber. Ben had successfully awakened 5 more keepers, who were now helping Lisa access the ship's systems. "The defensive shields are at 30% capacity," Lisa reported. "But we're making progress. With the help of the keepers, we might get them fully operational before the collectors break through." Morrow approached Jack with a tablet-like device. "Captain, I've found something important in the archives. The world ship was not just carrying my people to safety, it was also carrying our most advanced technology for safekeeping." "What kind of technology?" Jack asked. "Biological engineering," Morrow explained. "The very science that allowed us to create the collectors in the first place. If they obtain it, they could enhance their soldiers even further, making them virtually unstoppable warriors." "That explains their determination," Jack said. "But why attack Earth? Why not just take the world ship and leave?" One of the newly awakened keepers, an older female named Lyra, joined the conversation. "Because of what we left on your planet long ago. The collectors know that keeper technology might still exist on Earth, dormant, but intact." "What exactly did you leave behind?" Jack asked. "Defensive systems," Lyra replied. "Hidden in certain locations, disguised as natural formations or later built upon by your ancestors who discovered them but didn't understand their purpose." "The ancient sites," Lisa exclaimed. "The ones humans have wondered about for centuries?" Lyra nodded. "Yes, they were placed as a precaution in case the engineered life on Earth ever evolved into intelligence and needed protection." A loud explosion rocked the ship, throwing everyone off balance. "They're trying to breach the hibernation chamber," Alex shouted as she rushed in. "They want to eliminate the sleeping keepers." Jack made a quick decision. "Lisa, keep working on the defenses. Alex, take Ben and protect the hibernation chamber. I need to get this information to Earth immediately." Dr. Reed had made a breakthrough. Using a combination of human DNA and keeper technology, she had managed to activate more of the world ship's systems. As she worked, she noticed something strange in the ship's genetic database. "This can't be right," she muttered, running the analysis again. The results remained the same. She called Jack over immediately. "Captain, I've analyzed our DNA against the keeper genetic records," she said, her voice trembling with excitement. "The match is far closer than Morrow suggested. We're not just influenced by their genetic seeding. Humans are direct descendants of the keepers, modified to survive Earth's conditions." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying we're not just distant cousins. We're the next evolution of keepers adapted for Earth. That's why the world ship was coming here. It wasn't just seeking allies. It was coming home to its children." Jack stared at the genetic comparisons on the screen. "Does this mean we can fully activate the world ship's systems?" "Yes," Lisa confirmed. "With the right genetic key, a combination of human DNA patterns, we can access everything. The ship recognizes us as authorized users because, in a very real sense, we're family." As this revelation sank in, the ship's communication system suddenly activated. President Miller appeared on the main screen. "Captain Barnes, we've discovered something. The collectors are avoiding our ancient monuments. Dr. Porter believes they might contain alien technology." "She's right, sir," Jack replied. "We've just learned that those sites contain defensive systems left by the keepers millions of years ago. And there's more. Humans aren't just influenced by keeper genetics. According to Dr. Reed's analysis, we're their direct descendants, evolved for Earth conditions. The president looked stunned. Can these defensive systems be activated? If the Keeper's information is correct, yes, but we'd need the right activation codes, which might be stored here on the world ship. Morrow stepped forward. The codes are indeed here, in our central database. I can transmit them to Earth, but only if we can secure our position long enough. Another explosion shook the ship violently. Sir, Jack said urgently, we're under heavy attack. The collectors know what we've discovered and they're determined to stop us. If we can activate those ancient defenses on Earth, we might have a chance. But we need time. Hold your position, Captain, the President replied firmly. Earth's military forces are regrouping. We're sending everything we have to defend that world ship. As the communication ended, Jack turned to his crew. You heard the President. We need to hold out long enough to find those activation codes. The fate of both our species depends on it. Outside the world ship, the darkness of space was lit up by the approaching engines of collector warships, and behind them, the smaller, but determined vessels of humanity's combined space forces, coming to make their stand. The world ship trembled as another explosion rocked its ancient hull. Jack steadied himself against a console and looked at the faces of his crew, human and Keeper alike. They were tired but determined. The main database is through that corridor, Morrow said, pointing with one of his forearms. But the collectors have cut off our access. Lisa's fingers flew across the alien controls. I've managed to establish a secure connection with Earth. We can transmit the activation codes as soon as we find them. We need a diversion, Jack decided. Alex, can your team draw the collectors away from the database section? Alex nodded grimly. We'll give you 10 minutes. That's the best we can do. Jack turned to Morrow and Lisa. Then we have 10 minutes to find those codes and save both our worlds. As Alex led her team down one corridor, Jack, Lisa, and Morrow took another route, using the service tunnels that ran throughout the massive ship. Behind them, the sounds of battle echoed through the metal halls. On Earth, the situation was reaching a critical point. Commander Vex had called for reinforcements and dozens more collector ships had appeared in orbit. They continued their systematic destruction of Earth's military capabilities while avoiding civilian centers. In the ancient ruins of Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, Dr. Porter led a team of scientists and soldiers. They had been sent there based on the theory that the site contained hidden Keeper technology. According to the partial data from the world ship, there should be a control panel somewhere in these stones, Porter said, examining the massive T-shaped pillars that were over 11,000 years old. A young soldier pointed to strange markings on one of the pillars. Doctor, these symbols look similar to the ones in the photos from the world ship. Porter rushed over. You're right. She carefully placed her hand on the markings. Nothing happened. The activation is genetic, she remembered. We need the right DNA sequence and the activation codes from the world ship. Her radio crackled. This is Washington. Similar sites are being examined worldwide. We're standing by for the codes. How much time do we have? Porter looked up at the sky, where collector ships were visible even in daylight. Not much. Minutes, maybe. In the world ship's central database, Jack watched as Morrow and Lisa worked frantically to locate the activation codes. The system recognizes your DNA, Morrow told Jack, but we need a specific command sequence to access the highest security protocols. Lisa's eyes lit up. What about combining our DNA? If humans are evolved keepers, maybe a genetic key from both current species would work. Morrow considered this. It's possible. The ship was programmed to recognize both patterns. They placed their hands on the scanner together, human and keeper. The screen before them flashed, then displayed a complex series of symbols. The activation, codes, Morrow breathed, and something more. The entire ship suddenly hummed with new energy. Lights that had been dormant for centuries began to glow throughout the corridors. What's happening? Jack asked. The world ship is fully awakening, Morrow explained, his voice filled with awe. It recognizes the combined genetic signature as a completion of its mission. Earth and Keeper, parent and child, reunited after millions of years. Through the viewing port, they could see the exterior of the ship beginning to transform. Massive, panels shifted, revealing defensive arrays and communication systems that had been hidden beneath the outer hull. Lisa quickly connected to Earth's communication network. "I'm transmitting the activation codes now." Around the world, at sites that had puzzled archaeologists for generations, something extraordinary began to happen. At Göbekli Tepe, the stone pillars started to glow with an inner light. In Egypt, the pyramid's surfaces rippled as if they were liquid. At Stonehenge, the ancient stones hummed with energy. Dr. Porter watched in amazement as the ground beneath her feet shifted, revealing a control panel made of a material unlike anything on Earth. As the activation codes streamed in from the world ship, the panel came to life. "It's working," she reported excitedly. "The Keeper technology is responding." Similar reports came in from sites around the globe. The myths of ancient advanced civilizations had been based on truth. The Keepers had left their technology, disguised and dormant, waiting for their children to reclaim it. Commander Vex received the reports with growing alarm. "Impossible," he hissed, watching as Earth's ancient monuments transformed into Keeper defense systems. After all this time, he turned to his officers on the command ship. "Concentrate all firepower on the world ship. We must destroy it before they complete the activation sequence." The collector fleet redirected its attacks, all weapons targeting the world ship. But they were too late. The ship's newly revealed defensive systems were already active, creating a shield that absorbed their attacks. Jack felt the world ship shudder as it repelled the collector assault. "The shields are holding," he reported. "But we need to do more than just defend. We need to drive them back." Morrow's hands moved across the controls. "With the ship fully activated, we can do more than that. We can awaken all the sleeping Keepers. And more importantly, we can activate the defensive network on Earth." On the main screen, they watched as ancient structures around Earth transformed, revealing their true nature as parts of a planetary defense system. Energy fields spread outward, from these points connecting and strengthening each other. "It's beautiful," Lisa whispered as the network took shape. The collectors found their weapons suddenly ineffective against both Earth and the world ship. Their communications began to fail as the Keeper defense network disrupted their signals. In the White House Situation Room, President Miller received reports from military commands worldwide. "The alien technology is working," a general reported with barely contained excitement. "The collectors are losing their advantage." Earth's military forces, now coordinated with the ancient defense systems, launched a counterattack. Fighter jets equipped with hastily adapted Keeper technology engaged the collector ships in Earth's atmosphere. Commander Vex, seeing the tide turning, made one final, desperate attempt. He led his elite forces in a direct assault on the world ship, determined to capture or destroy it. His ship docked forcefully with the ancient vessel, and he led his soldiers toward the central chamber. Jack, Lisa, and Morrow were preparing to join the remaining Keepers when the doors to the command center burst open. Commander Vex stood there, his silver skin now marked with battle damage, his eyes cold with hatred. "You have ruined everything," he snarled, weapon raised. "Centuries of work undone because of you." "It's over, Vex," Jack said calmly. "Earth is protected now. The Keepers are awakening. There's nowhere left for you to go. Then I will have the satisfaction of eliminating the ones who caused our downfall," Vex replied, aiming his weapon at Morrow. Before he could fire, the ship itself seemed to respond. Panels in the walls opened, and beams of energy surrounded Vex and his soldiers, freezing them in place. "The world ship has its own defenses," Morrow explained. "It was designed to protect its occupants." Vex struggled against the energy field. "This isn't the end," he warned. "There are more collectors. We will return with a greater force. And we'll be waiting," Jack promised. "Humanity and Keepers, together." In the days that followed, the remaining collector forces retreated from Earth's solar system. The hibernating Keepers were gradually awakened, marveling at the world their genetic children had built. The world ship settled into orbit around Earth, a bridge between humanity's past and future. Scientists from both species began working together, combining their knowledge and technology. In a special ceremony at the United Nations, Morrow and the Keeper Elders officially recognized humanity as their descendants and allies. Long ago, we left our genetic legacy on this beautiful planet, Morrow told the assembled world leaders. We hoped that one day life would evolve that carried our essence. What we did not expect was that you would surpass us in many ways. Jack, standing beside President Miller, felt a sense of pride as he watched humans and keepers shaking hands. In some cases, multiple hands. What happens now? President Miller asked quietly. We prepare, Jack replied. Vex was right about one thing. The collectors will return eventually, but next time we'll face them together. As the ceremony concluded, Jack gazed up at the night sky where the world ship was visible as a new, artificial moon. It was no longer just a vessel carrying the past, but a symbol of humanity's new place in the universe. Earth was no longer alone. And for the first time in centuries, neither were the keepers. Two branches of the same family tree, reunited at last, ready to face whatever came next among the stars.